Hello everyone, welcome back to When the Night Comes. You probably already know what's going on about here, so let's go ahead and just keep going with it. The next few days felt surreal as I relayed my encounter with James to those who most needed to hear. The revelations were met with both shock and horror, but mostly anger. Unsurprisingly, we found ourselves with the very same question heavy on the tip of our tongue. Why? I can't deny that the world we live in is a terrifying and uncertain one, but it's all that I know, all that I have ever known. Finn tells me that even before the revelation day, there were unexplained disappearances, murders, grisly things that found but never spoken of. Corruption is inevitable in organizations such as this one, but for something so profound and nefarious to be going on right under our noses, I can't help but wonder if this end justifies the means in this little scheme that started in the brain of our leader. The cost is so high, the loss is vast and heartbreaking, and exactly what does it end? Or where does it end? Where does the line get drawn when the divide between what's right and wrong is so very blurred? Would it have been safer for us to live in ignorant bliss all this time, or would they have overrun us eventually anyway? Maybe, but these are the cards we've been dealt, and Harold Addington has a dirty hand. I'm still biding my time, trying to gather any final scraps of information while I wait for word that Harry has reappeared. As I do most days now, I walk the town from one end to another. Lunaris is easy to patrol, as small as it is, and the townsfolk seem almost relieved when I pass by. The enforcers have such a suffocating presence here lately, and every time I encounter one, I can't help but feel like I'm being watched. Are they all in on this? I find myself in the woodland at the edge of the graveyard, the sun shining but the air crisp and cold. The grass crunches beneath my boots and I see a path of destruction and I walk into an open clearing. Anyone else would be alarmed to see the destruction I find, would likely suspect a creature had been the one to carve jagged welts into the trunks of the trees, but I know what caused this, and it certainly wasn't no creature. I find her a little further in, kneeling in the dirt, her head bowed, beside her 2 pieces of what was once a training staff cracked at the center. I approach quietly, and when she looks up, I see the blankness in her eyes, her expression sour. Piper. She forces a smile, her chest heaving with labored breaths, sweat slicking her flushed skin. Sweat, not sweet. Ddog. She hauls herself from the ground, kicking aside the splintered wood with a grunt. Then she retrieves 2 intact staves from a bag nestled in a pile of overgrown grass and holds it out to me. I know you've come to talk about Deep Ship, so how about you humor me and let me kick your arse while we're at it? I keep my gaze fixed upon hers as I take one of the staves from her. So cocky. Pepper shrugs, nonchalant and definitely cocky. You know I'm right. Our staves meet with a solid thwack, those sapphire eyes meeting me head on as Piper lunges forward with a grin. She's hyper-focused, strong, and I match her blow for powerful blow with ease. Why are you out here? There's a training room back at headquarters. Pepper rolls her eyes, wiping sweat from her brow with the back of her hand.
The less I'm around those traitorous idiots, the better. I cannot hold my tongue as well as most, you see.
She launches herself forward again, and I have to step back a few paces when she pushes against the pressure of our crossed weapons. I lose my purchase against the muddy forest floor, skidding, and then she's drawing back, swinging again. Again. Shit. I'm used to one-on-one combat, used to the intricacies of it, but Piper is no creature, and it's been a hell of a long time since I sparred with one of my own kind. Her staff makes a solid arc towards my legs, and in the vain attempt at darting out of her way, I find myself falling in an inelegant sprawl. The world tumbles until it reorients itself. When I land on my back, my head tilted back to see Piper standing above me with a far too smug smile on her face. The hilt of her staff just barely grazes the arc of my very exposed throat, and I weigh out my options very carefully. Gotcha. Let's just yield. I don't feel like attacking. I'm here to talk to her, not to assist with her obviously so desperately needed distraction. So I raise my hands in surrender, and her answering groan tells me it's not the outcome she wanted.
Spoil sport. You could have had me then. A quick swipe to the legs from that angle and I'd be down in the dirt with you.
She throws her staff aside and offers me her hand, tugging me to stand. I didn't come here expecting this, in fairness. Aw, did I catch you off guard? I bark an incredulous laugh, watching her eyes crinkle at the corners with her grin widens at the nose. Touché. She pauses, eyeing me warily. So what did you actually come here for then? You've been avoiding me. Piper purses her lips, averting her gaze. She has been actively staying clear of me since the day after I woke up, but I've given her space and respected that the things I divulged would be difficult for her to swallow. But as time drags on, we draw closer to the point where we'll have to face all of this corruption. And well, I need Piper, the only hunter I can truly bring myself to trust, but most importantly, my friend. It's almost time, at least I hope. She pokes the dirt with the toe of her boot, as wonderfully defiant as she always is. I know, I want to get it over with, right?
He'll crawl out of whatever hole he's scurried into, and everything will burn.
Her eyes are fierce and bright when she finally dares to meet my gaze. Not everything. What he's done. She scoffs again, anger rolling off her in messy waves that break over me, almost leaving me breathless. If I have to kill her, if she became what Azazel did,
I will tear the enforcers to the ground to avenge her if I have to.
He better have a really good fucking explanation for all this, I'm gonna condemn it. He's an asshole. How could he? He's killed people, his own people. His husband indirectly, but still, imagine that. I can't imagine it. I think about Omen, knowing with everything I have that I could never hurt him. I love him too much. It's unfathomable he'll pay for it. Fucking right he will. Then her shoulders slump and she slowly looks around at the mess she's made of the clearing. I should go. I need to clear my head in a way that doesn't involve me beating the shit out of trees. Or me, or you. I'll see you around, yeah? Without so much as a second glance, Piper turns and disappears into the forest. I understand why she's hurting so much, and I just sort of wish I could help. In speaking to Harry, maybe I can. I approach the Ibex with the same level of caution and awareness I always do, even though I'm now quite well acquainted with its inhabitants. There's a young woman at the doors who straightens when I approach. Something in that single movement, not to mention her attire and the pistols that decorate the holster, suggests a trained fighter. But when she meets my eyes, there's only curiosity there, not wariness. I remember Harry mentioning a guard who works at the Ibex sometimes, Lux or Raven's partner, but perhaps this is her. Hunter, I assume. I nod, offering a small smile. She appraises me for a moment, appraises me for a moment, and then her wariness fades. She sticks out a hand with great enthusiasm and grins from ear to ear when I take it. It's nice to finally meet you. Likewise, may I enter? She inclines her head and steps aside, arms crossed. I'm not going to stop you. I give her a polite nod and quickly move along, able to feel her eyes on the back until the door swings shut and spares me from her attention. It's cold inside, even though it's daytime. The place is just as dilapidated as it was when I first visited, but towards the altar at the end, it seems like someone has been cleaning up. The floor is swept, a crimson cloth covers the altar, and seated upon it, with her booted legs swinging, attention firmly fixed upon what an embroidery hoop, is Elaine. I wait a moment before approaching to give her some time to notice me, but her eyes and hands remain focused on her task. Eventually I give up and just go up to her. She likely knows I was coming from down the street anyhow, if she's anything like most demons I've encountered. Sure enough, there's no surprise in Elaine's brown eyes when she looks up at me, smiling warmly and setting her project aside. Hello, Hunter. I stop and blink, and Elaine frowns immediately, pressing a finger to her lips. There's a mellowness to her aura that doesn't put me at ease as he does, and as Elaine peers at me with open amusement and interest, I can't put it into words, but somehow I think I know why. I heard you encountered the creature. I did Omen tell you? Elaine shakes her head, then shrugs. I'm sorry, though. I take it you saw your kin in that chimera. This time it's definitely a chill that runs down my spine. How did you... No, I've heard it crying, and I found its presence strange. I didn't investigate, though. Elaine covers her mouth with a hand, her brow furrowed as she stares at the red cloth beneath her seat. I didn't think it was your target. It was sad, not dangerous. You heard it cry when... A little while ago, it was a very sad thing if it were once human. I quickly put a hand to my lips. No one knows that detail yet aside from those I've told, and Lux is just outside the door. Elaine blinks at me slowly, calmly. She tilts her head to the left and to the right, sizing me up. Then she exhales in that disappointment or sadness I sense. Are you looking for Omen? There's a distinct and uncomfortable feeling that the more I talk to Elaine, the more she'll likely get upset. That feeling is accompanied by the gut-deep knowledge that the princess is not like the prince. She wears a human glamour as firmly and easily as Omen does, and their eyes have the same kind cast. But she looks at me like a demon looks at a mortal, and I don't know if I want to see the version of me that's reflected in her eyes, not right now. Not with Harry and what he's done weighing on my soul like a stone-hard burden. Yes, do you know where he is? Stay here. Elaine hops off, grabs her embroidery hoop, and ducks into one of the side rooms. At the last flash of her tail vanishes, the front of the temple also changes. Clean swept stone floor becomes dusty and cobwebby again, save the imprint of her boots on the ground. The altar returns to its dusty state, and the red cloth thrown over it just straight up evaporates. An illusion. I didn't even notice. I didn't even sense that there was anything wrong with such a large swath of the room. Before I can dwell too much on how Elaine managed it, a familiar figure emerges. Owen smiles with open relief when he sees me. He closes the distance between us in a moment and takes my hand in his, then presses a kiss to my knuckles. I thought you'd be busy until later today. I am, but I wanted to see you selfishly. Lucky you're here, I can at least make it look like work, right? The sheer happiness radiating from him is its own kind of warmth. Omen touches my face, his elegant fingertips tracing the line of my jaw. His eyes gleam. Well, I'm glad to see you. I missed you. Omen laughs softly, then winks.
I'm always glad to be a distraction.
You're far more than just a distraction. Omen blinks. Then he laughs, quiet but so sweet, and his tail curls around the hand I hold loose near my waist. I instinctively stroke it between my fingers. Omen smiles, almost shy. Do you have some time? Of course. Lacing his fingers with mine, Omen gives my hand a gentle tug and guides me into the dark corner of the church. I honestly have no idea what he's trying to do to me, except that the hunter part of my brain is hilariously upset at how easily I'm being led away into the dark by a demon prince. Soon, however, my curiosity is sated, for there, in a tiny crack of dirt below a pillar where the stone floor has been pried away, grows a bundle of glowing red flowers. I recognize the floor almost immediately, brimstone lilies, named for the distinct ember-like glow they possess, and they're planted to bloom only where there's a demonic presence to feed off of. Pretty, and a telling clue for those like myself who know what they mean, but otherwise their existence is useless. This church probably used decoration if these things decide to overgrow here. You think so? It certainly beats the decrepit air faintly smelling of dust and despair. And it would remind me of you.
Thank you. Then this is good. I was thinking you could keep it with you.
As I watch, he crouches down and reaches for the lilies. Then they tremble and visibly tilt in the direction of his hand as though wanting to touch him. Omen twirls his finger around the stem of 3 and pulls, yanking them from the ground. I have expected the fiery glow to immediately extinguish, as brimstone lilies are known to do when deprived of earth, but instead they glow even brighter, curling tight to his hand. He straightens, cradling them, and they grow brighter, then dim, and Omen curls the stems tight together and offers them to
I
me.
hear that mortals trade flowers to express affection, so this is for you.
Flowers for me, so sweet, my demon love. Tentatively, I take the gift from him. The lilies gleam bright still, and to my senses radiate warmth and a silver presence unlike his own. A keepsake, a very, very individualized keepsake, I realize. Omen, I hope it's not too much. He wraps his hands around mine, and the lilies flare a little brighter before subsiding again. Oh no, if you're giving me we already know what's gonna happen here. I kiss him and hold on, relishing in the press of our lips, in the way he kisses back, as soft as mine and then more forcefully. His long lashes brush my cheek. His glamour is so damn good, and yet in this moment, my senses pick up the raw, gargantuan presence behind him too. Something familiar yet wholly alien. Something that looms through its crouches, red hot coals pressed against my skin, yet neither burning nor rejecting me. Omen draws back, a secret smile on his lips and a finger pressed firmly to mine even as I try to chase him. His eyes are glowing in the dark, and they settle back into the ordinary warm chestnut brown soon enough. Suddenly, I understand why humans look at demons and become so charmed. I understand where stories of mad, inconsolable attraction comes from. Hunter. The sound of my title is like a bale of cold water splashed at my face. I blink and jerk back, shaking my head. Then I kiss him again. On the cheek this time, in full control of myself for spite. I love you. I'm
You
glad.
won't die.
Wow, you didn't say I love
Not
you too?
as long
Rude.
as I live, anyway. I hope you'll think of me when you look at them.
Always. I carefully tuck the flowers into my belt, then wrap Omen up in a tight hug. He reciprocates, resting his chin on my shoulder. For a long, blissful moment, time stops. We're safe together. But it must end. I have so much to say about the things that plague my mind. I should go. I have to gather my thoughts. His expression sours, but with sadness rather than disappointment. Ah, yes, the Lieutenant General. What will you do? Oh, goodness. Well, I was given an option like this already. Ooh, excuse me. I was given an option like this already with Piper, and I chose to be more mean than sympathetic. I feel like I just need to confront him. I shouldn't sympathize with him, right? He did a bad. I haven't found anything good out of what he's done yet. We're going to confront him. I have to confront him soon as he shows his face. We can't allow for this to continue. No, it can't.
Won't be easy. I'd rather you not have to stand before him on your own with no backup.
I suspect Gus will be present. They need closure more than I do, but I don't think you should do anything anyway. If you're sure. I'm sure. Harry is an old, wily soldier. I'd rather not confront with him knowing that I have your ear if he doesn't know of our involvement already. But I won't do it unprepared. You have my word. I give his hand a reassuring squeeze, then let go. I should go.
There can be no change without courage, and no new beginning without betrayal of the old ways. Whatever choice you make, I have faith in you.
I almost laugh. A demon having faith? But Omen smile as I step away with a wave as knowing as it is sad.
Faith is insurance against uncertain future. This is something we all share.
I'll remember that, as I remember you. Alcar is waiting for me outside of the temple. Much to my lack of surprise, I've had the sense he's been keeping an eye on me more than usual since the encounter with the creature. My thanks for... I might have been convinced that I was mistaken, if not for the pout and the defiance on his face, stifling a grin. I raised my hands in a gesture for peace instead. No need to poke the sensitive wolf today. Waiting for me, I take it you want to talk?
Assuming a hell of a lot, aren't you? But you're right enough. You're about the only exciting thing left in this goddamn town.
And the whole. He gestures vaguely in my direction, and I can't quite get his meaning. I'm not entirely sure Alcar himself knows what he means either, because his expression on his face is one I can't read. One of the many things I've learned about the half-lycan is either he won't lie or he's hellishly bad at it. It reminds me of the folk stories of wolves as betrayers and deceivers, even now, and not just surrounding Alcar. I wonder if those who told the folklores mistook wolves for foxes or for their neighbors. Maybe their boss. The whole debacle? Yeah, that. I pause, almost awkward.
So, listen. I'm no good with the whole emotional thing. That's what Ezra's here for.
Ezra's here to handle all your feelings for you, is that it?
No, he just self-expresses better is all. Makes the sentimental shit sound more natural, not so awkward and weird. Anyway, I just wanted to ask if you're doing okay.
Oh. I appreciate the effort you took to arrive at that question.
What do they say? Effort shows affection or something?
Everything is a mess, I suppose. I'm not just gonna let you, I'm not just going to let all of it, all of what we've learned, go if this is what you're worried about.
I didn't think you would. In fact, I trust that you won't. I know you're gonna try to do something about this mess.
There's a dog. Do you hear the dog outside my window right now? Alcar, you've made all the dogs show up. Something probably dangerous, or if you won't, they'll force you into it. He says it with such bitterness, with such certainty that I know immediately the sentiment must have come from personal experience. I'll do my utmost to prove them unnecessary. I won't be caught dead by anyone else saying this, but if you do, I'd appreciate that. I'm sure you would. Then he inhales deeply, lets it out slow. So humor me, what are you up to? Okay, so once again, they keep giving me the option to sympathize or condemn. And so far I've said condemn every time. So I've gotta go with condemning him, right? Like, that would be the smart thing to do? Yeah? I'm going with confront. I look away. Every time someone asks this, every time I ask myself the same question, I hope that the answer would come easier by now. That I'd be more sure, but it almost changes by the minute. I'll confront him. I'm a general, and though he's my superior, I stop there. Alcar has been remarkably upfront with me about everything, despite his original warning to not trust anyone in this town, including himself. That doesn't mean Hunter's business is for his 4 ears. That's an old, easy excuse. In truth, it's more that I don't want to say the words, make them real. That's rough, buddy. Okay. I'm sorry. Should you be? He dragged you into knowing full well you were just an easy blame for something he's explicitly done. Yeah, he sure fucking did, and you wouldn't catch me red-handed doing the same thing, blaming people not a part of his pyramid of shit. Anyway, that's good, figured so, but gives me some peace of mind, at least till it actually fucking happens. What would you have done if I said I understand where he came from and side with him? The possibility is ridiculous, but my curiosity burns, stings, and if we're already ass deep in this kind of tense talk, what is more match to the flames? Then you would have been what I expected. I've no faith in hunters, save maybe 2 or 3, and that won't change with this stellar example. But from me to you, thanks.
Well, I'd better go and put more drinks on somebody else's tab before this town starts missing me.
Tell me you aren't trying to drain Finn's wealth within your lifetime.
Oh, I wouldn't worry. I broke into the catacombs once just to see how rich our man is. And he's loaded. It's not like the treasure would sit there and marinate if you don't spend it.
So what you're saying is I could have been with a rich vampire, but I chose the son of the devil instead. You can see where my priorities are. He could pay taxes. Pay taxes to your boss. He has a point there. I have an appointment to catch with my enforcer anyway. Well, I pray for you. Thank you. With a laugh and a shake of his head, Alcar shoves his hand deep into his pockets and ambles away towards the tavern's direction. I wait until he's out of sight before heading my own way. The sun shyly disappears behind the horizon as I step into the magic shop, passing what I assume to be Ezra's final customer for the night with a smile. He looks exhausted when I catch his eye across the counter, but he still smiles warmly when I approach. You look tired. So do you. Ezra huffs a quiet laugh, and Coco peeps loudly at him, appearing from between his feet with her usual attitude. He rolls his eyes before looking down at the feline, raising a dark brow at her almost accusingly. No, absolutely not. She chirps at him in return, and I swear she looks almost angry. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's nothing. Then he nudges Coco with his foot, and with a defiant flick of her tail, she darts through the purple curtain into the back room. Cats, eh? He picks up a pile of books stacked by the cash register and inclines his head for me to follow him. I oblige, watching as he pops each one back to its rightful place.
How was your day? You feeling okay?
He turns, eyeing my side, knowing full well his magic healed me perfectly, and yet still finding the time to worry for me. Though unconsciously, I still press my hand over the place where the wound once lay, an almost phantom ache settling deep in my ribs. As if my body is aware that there should be something there. Physically, I'm fine. The last book gets pushed between its shelf mates, and Ezra turns to face me fully, concern etched upon his face.
Just physically?
You need to figure this out before everyone gets hurt. I clear my throat, offering him a clipped smile. I just feel like I'm in limbo with this whole Harry situation. I'm supposed to be on my way to see August right now, and yet you can't bring yourself to go. I shake my head, letting my hand fail numbly on my side. That is true. I woke up this morning saying that I'm going to need to go do this. There's no time. But so far, I've gone to the Ibeck. I've gone fooled with Omen, which that one's fine. Totally do that. I've went and saw the Wolfman, whatever, like him. So, and now I'm here. So like, I'm keeping myself from going. Still, I fight to keep the true extent of my worry off my face, pretending that the hurt, bitter undercurrents of the knowledge I was burdened with don't leave me feeling nauseous. For now, the only thing I can do is try to be honest, but try to be strong. For them, for all of them. No, I can't. Ezra smiles at me, an almost sympathetic edge to it. I do hope he isn't pitying me, but then Ezra is so very kind that I can't view it as anything other than innocent. Come, let me make you some tea. I nod, actually thinking how I could very much do with the cup of something warm to clear my head right now. I'd like that, thank you. To the back room. Ezra fills the kettle, placing it upon the stove and stepping towards me as it begins to whistle quietly. So I assume Gus will be with you when you meet with Harry. If so, I imagine you and them will be more than capable of handling anything he tries to throw at you. And I've been meaning to ask if you don't mind, of course. He stares me down with those wide, wise eyes. How are you going to approach him exactly? I mean, you've had all the time to process this anyway, a little. Give me the choice again? Yeah, give me the choice again. I bite my lip, almost wanting to hold back the rage I feel broiling and bubbling in my chest. The things Harry has done, the things the enforcers have done, centuries of pain and suffering, tearing children from their families and turning them into monsters. I'll put a stop to this, finish it once and for all. He reaches for me across the table, taking my hand on his own, holding it tight.
You'll be careful, won't you? Promise me that.
I study him for a long minute, wanting to respond immediately with conviction, but I'm unsure of what I might come to face. I'll do my best. We sit in silence for a little while, only to have it broken by a quiet tap tap tap. I look around and then realize it's coming from underneath the floor. I'm guessing it's Finn. Ah, of course. Finn again. Ezra beams when I look at him, and it pleases me to see them so happy once again. We both stand and Ezra reaches to unlatch the lock that keeps the opening to the catacombs locked while I pull back the rug that covers it. When golden eyes appear in the darkness, I feel a chill roll down my spine. He immediately goes to Ezra, drawn to him like a moth to a flame, and he presses a quick chaste kiss to his lips. Hello, Angel. They lace their fingers, standing close, and Finn turns his attention to me. Ew, gross. A witch and a vampire together? That's ew. Ew. I'm the one who caused this, by the way. Just want to let you know.
I came as soon as I sensed you were here.
I'm on my way to see August. Just kidding. He's saying he's on it. You know what I meant. Finn crinkles his nose at that, apparently unimpressed.
I was hoping I could steal you away for a little while, actually. Not for anything nefarious. Fierro simply longs to speak to you.
Ooh. It's also Sedu. Does he have more information? He shrugs.
I'm not sure. He's not exactly a man of many words. If he's asked for you, then I'd take it that he has at least something to tell you.
He definitely isn't just wanting a friendly chat, that's for sure.
Ah, I see. Well, considering I'm still avoiding to go see Gus, we could go now. Excellent. Ezra clears his throat, says his lashes dipping as he squeezes Finn's hand. His prosthetic comes alive, flickering in hand. You'll return? I always do, don't I? Ezra's quiet laugh is infectious, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He exudes happiness. You do? Come then, Ddog, into the hole you go. If I had a nickel every time someone said that. Ezra and I both look at him with blank expressions, and Finn nearly rolls his eyes, sighs, and ushers me onward. Ha, they saw the joke too. We say goodbye to Ezra, watching as we descend into the depths of the catacomb tunnels. A shadowy figure waits for us outside of Finn's quarters, and I smile when I see the shock of white hair and friendly crimson eyes. Hunter Plague Ames, it's a pleasure to meet you again. It's good to see you too, under better circumstances this time. If I look hard enough, I swear I can see his mouth twitch. Fear studies me with a certain intensity for a moment, and I can feel a strange sense of calm washing over me, but he frowns, a blink and you'll miss it thing, but I see it before his face falls into that carefully calculated stoicism. I will not keep you long. I just wanted to thank you for finding me. I owe you a debt of gratitude for assisting with my extraction. I gather you'll be meeting with the Lieutenant General soon. I swallow thickly, my throat tight all of a sudden. There it is again, that uncertainty, that push and pull of conflicting emotions that swirl in my gut and almost suffocates me. I nod a little too quickly, and though Fierro doesn't show it, I know he can still feel my unease. I will be, yes, whenever he decides to show his face. Finn scoffs at that, leaning against the jagged stone wall with a perfect kind of handsome nonchalance that not many could achieve.
If he ever decides to again. If I was him, I'd have left town the second the first body turned cold.
Fierro continues to watch me, his stare unwavering. Well, the sooner the better, and I'd quite like all of this to be over. Indeed. Finn nudges him with his elbow, and Fierro barely shifts, holding himself like some ancient statue in almost unnerving stillness. Tell him what you saw in the dungeons before you were rescued. There was a lot of commotion down there the night you killed the creature. They were unorganized, clearly distressed. I watched carefully and I saw something strange. A hunter, or what was once a hunter, now I'm not so sure. I pale at the thought, remembering the way the creature looked at me as it lunged, teeth bared, and the way that my body would hold me I was fighting one of my own before I ended its life. His life. It was female, of that I am much certain. Aya? She was wailing all night after they shoved her back into one of her cells. They must have been in a rush because they weren't as cautious in hiding her as they had been before. She's more whole than the other one, but whatever they've done to her, she's far too gone, driven mad, feral even. I've never felt anything quite like it, an impossible flurry of pain and confusion, but mostly anger. It's Aya. No. Finn steps forward, seeing the way my eyes widen and my hands begin to shake. I can't face another. Ddog. I look at Finn, noting his concern over the way my heart lurches in my chest. I nod at him, exhaling a sharp breath to refocus. You're sure? The quiet vampire nods, his lips pursed into something that looks like an attempt at a grimace. I am certain, and I am also sorry. It's fine, I expect it actually, just hurts to hear, to have it confirmed. I nod. We will not let you face it alone. You will never be alone. Fiora shares a look with Finn before nodding his agreement. I will leave you now. Thank you, Fiora. He offers us a stiff bow as Finn pushes open the door to his quarters, making a beeline for the craft of scotch upon his desk. Fiora casts me a final lingering glance before he disappears into the darkness. I can't help but feel like he sensed something in me that he didn't like, but whatever it was, I'm unsure. I closed the door to his quarters, finding him sitting upon his bed, 2 glasses of his favorite poison clutched in his hands. Would you like one? Looks like you could use it. Ah, yeah, let's take a drink right here. I pry the crystal tumbler from his grip, nodding my hands as I bring it to my lips. It's delicious, refreshing, and has just the right amount of burn, and it slides down my throat that I almost forget my troubles for a blissful moment. Thank you. He raises his glass towards me as he takes a sip of his own, humming his approval. I miss being drunk, just the peace it used to bring me, which wasn't necessarily a good thing, but oh, did I have my fun. His laugh is wistful, and I wonder how long a vampire lives before they can begin to forget their human days. I daren't ask him, for I don't want to sour the mood, but one day, maybe. Surely there are ways for you to become inebriated, even if it's not quite the same. Finn shrugs. Sure there is. There are many ways, actually, but the buzz wears off before you can really even enjoy it. Besides, there are other ways to find pleasure, and I'm somehow sure you've explored them all. I laugh at the way he waggles his brow, his ears twitching alongside them. As he watches me, his smile fades, his dark brows drawn together. I can't help but notice.
Something plagues you.
He smirks when I raise a single brow, almost accusingly, as if it's obvious what plagues me. I mean, would you like to discuss? I shrug as if the things that bother me aren't completely earth-shattering. There's so much riding on me on the decisions I make. I never expected to carry such a burden in coming here.
You shouldn't have to. It isn't fair, what you've had to endure. But you were the strongest and most capable hunter I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And I have known many in my time.
He smiles, tilting his head. Lunaris is lucky to have you by its side. He drops his gaze to his lap, his brow twitching into a frown. Now, tell me, what do you intend to say to Deal Harold when you finally face him? His eyes search my face as if looking for answers I don't know how to give, or don't want to give. Hey look, it's the same thing I had to be doing the entire time. You know what? I got to confront him. That's the point. I ponder my response because, truly, my thoughts are still jumbled, anxiety mounting. But one thing I know for sure is what Harry has done is doing is wrong. I'll confront him and expect straight answers. I want to know why he did it.
I just ask that you're careful. No sound-minded man would make the decisions that he has. Of that much I'm sure. You don't know how he'll react to being confronted.
He's right, and somehow that thought hadn't crossed my mind, but Harry cares for August deeply and they will be by my side. I'm not sure Harry would want to bring harm to August or even myself. Finn looks at me like I've gone mad.
He's directly responsible for the death of his husband. You and August are just collateral damage at this point. He killed Levi, and that seemed like an impossible feat to me for a very long time, centuries even. He's strong.
Makes sense. He had James help him, didn't he? Finn scoffs, and I can tell his frustration is mounting.
You've seen his face and that pretty scar? He fought Leviathan Casimir, and he lives to tell the tale. And my sire? He's Ash. I spent centuries terrified of him, watching him terrorize whole countries just for fun.
I stare at him, at the strange way he almost vibrates. Is it fear, maybe? Something long ingrained in him after the hell his sire put him through, that the mere thought of the man has shaken him like this. Harold put him down in one night with the same ease as he puts his boots on in the morning. I suppose I should go then. I don't exactly sound convincing. In fact, I think I'd be quite happy to stay down here and hide away from my responsibilities for a little longer. But I must be responsible, unfortunately. Finn shifts to stand, running a hand through his hair, rubbing at his chin. He's twitchy tonight, showing more signs of humanity than I'm used to from him.
I know I said it already, but be careful.
I smile at him, reaching for the handle for the door. I've fought much bigger, much scarier things than Harold Addington. As the words leave my mouth, I feel terrible dread washing over me, and Finn notices.
Never underestimate your foe, especially when they have nothing to lose.
Farewell. I find August in their office, staring at their desk, and it's rife with papers strewn in different stacks, but without its usual method. They look worse than usual, look despondent, almost as if they've given up prompt and orderly, but I know that that's not the case. August is adept at keeping the flow of reports moving quickly, a stickler for punctuality. I tap the door once with my knuckles, and they grant me permission to enter with a lazy nod of their head.
Days like today make me wonder if I should just pack all of this in and run home to my parents with my tail between my legs. Or maybe become a nomad or something.
I know that that's not true, but the defeat in their tone makes me think that they've been like this for some time. I don't think the nomad style's quite for you. You have a laugh, sighing heavily, uncharacteristically slumped in their chair.
One day, hopefully soon, we'll be free from the shackles of all this corruption. I'll bring order to Lunaris. Or I guess I'll at least die trying. I've never been very good at quitting.
I poke at the seemingly never-ending pile of parchments and take a seat before them, pointedly ignoring their macabre declaration. What is all this anyway? They seem to be more than usual. August shrugs, waving their hand dismissively over the mess.
Take your pick. Reports, complaints, and all of the petty bureaucratic bullshit that Harry usually deals with.
I so graciously offered to take some of his work off of his hands when James passed. Their lips curl into a snarl, their teeth barred, and their next words are almost venomous, distinctly lacking emotion. Aren't I kind? They're frustrated, tired, overworked, and apparently overcome with bitterness. In one way, I'm grateful, seeing them upset and so downtrodden over Harry. I hated it, but the mood doesn't suit them. I truly long for the day when I can see them well-rested and appreciated. I just want to know you're doing okay, you're working yourself to the bone. Another dismissive wave of their hand, and I gather I'm not going to get much more of that out of them. I will be fine. I have to be, don't I? I watch as they pinch the bridge of their nose, their weak argument not all that convincing. A quiet knock on the door grabs our attention, with a timid junior pokes their head around the flame, awkwardly raising their hand at August. General Wilhelm? They raise their brow at him, their impatience clear. What? You asked me to let you know when Lieutenant General returned. Well, he's in his office. I just saw it. Thank you, recruit. You can go now, and do not tell anyone what I asked of you. I see the heavy bob of their throat and the flush of their paints. It paints their cheeks as August quickly moves to stand, and with a nod, the boy scurries away. August and I share a look, and I wonder if they're thinking the same as me, that we're not ready. Or that we don't want this, scared of what we'll learn and that it will all become real at long last. August places a trembling hand upon my arm, their eyes wide and bright, and when they speak, there's sort of a manic edge to their words, their voice.
I need to know how you feel about all of this before... I need to know because I cannot make up my mind.
They tighten their grip on me, and for the first time since I've known them, August Wilhelmheim looks scared. I feel something thick in the air, a kinetic shift, an almost suffocating buzz. August, breathe. They exhale sharply, and their aura is distinctly panicked. I place my hand over theirs, and I feel a shock as our skin meets, but my touch calms them enough for the air to clear, so I relent and don't pull away. It's okay, it's gonna be okay. No, it's not. They shake me off, pacing, angry tears trailing their cheeks.
Everything I worked for, everything I've ever stood for. I saw him as my mentor, a man who raised me with a kindness my father would never even dream of showing me.
Was I so blinded by the affection that I didn't see the evil in him? Oh, here's the part where we condemn again, baby. I shake my head, knowing August is not a bad judge of character. Harry is just good at manipulating, or spectacularly talented in disassociation. You weren't to know, August. None of us knew or could possibly dream it might be him. They scoff, rolling their
I
eyes.
followed him about with doe eyes, lapping up any scraps of approval he dared to lavish me with. I've always been desperate to be acknowledged and told I'm doing a good job. He gave that to me in abundance.
I don't believe he realizes what he's doing is wrong, but that doesn't excuse it, nor does it make you complicit.
No one evil ever sees themselves as so. I've encountered it enough to know that much.
We stand in silent for what feels like forever, both of us gathering our thoughts, our courage. This isn't going to be easy or even marginally fun, but shall we? Before I get the chance to finish my sentence, I hear an all too familiar heavy thud of boots in the corridor. And then Lieutenant General Addington appears in the doorway, a smile upon his face. Next time we confront, and I think it's gonna be close to the end. Goodbye, everybody.